Hey everyone, it is Ari Guajardo. I'm not sure about you, but Ballerina Farm and the Olympic Games have been all over my For You page, and it's time for us to spill some sweet tea. Today I'm joined by two girlies here to help me flesh all of this out, because it turns out even within the last, I think, like 48 hours, all the stuff happening with the Olympics continues to get more complicated, more stuff coming out, and faster than I feel like ever before. It turns out when the entire country is, or not the entire country, the entire world is all together, a lot is going on. So one person here is Grace McCreary. Did I say your last name right?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, I feel like we've been friends for so long, and I'm like, wow, I never used that.
It's part of it last time too.
So you
always get it right.
So you have been on the show before, and right now you're actually writing an article about Ballerina Farm, discussing some of the trad wife stuff going on with that. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And then my Olympics specialist here to help me out, and also I think my connection to, like, I'm Gen Z, but I feel like you're deep Gen Z. So this is Ella Grace White. You're working as an intern with us this summer at the Texas Public Policy Foundation.
Yeah.
Overall, how's it been?
It's been awesome. I have loved working here, and I'm sad that this is going into my last week. It's really sad.
Did you think whenever you were like accepting this internship that you'd be on a show to talk about like the fashion in the Olympics?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
Okay, before we started, Ella Grace had said something about Brat Summer. And I knew about Hot Girl Summer last year, and this is where I feel like I'm like the grandma Gen Z now. What is the Brat Summer? I don't get it.
I feel like Brat Summer is a lot more like, compared to Hot Girl Summer, I think a comparison illustrates the differences. Like, Hot Girl Summer is like, you are like the very best like version of yourself. You're trying to be the best version of yourself. Brat Summer is like, you are unapologetically just you, and you're doing what you want to do. And if that makes you be, quote unquote, a brat to some people, you're in your Brat Girl Summer era.
So is one more focused on self-improvement and the other one's more
like an embracement of self, whether that comes off as being a brat, so to speak.
Yeah, because it's also coming up because like Kamala Harris, everyone's like, ooh, she's brat right now. But I don't know what that means in this context.
I feel like sometimes whenever there is like a large pop culture movement that people will just, in order to like trying to make people like somebody, they'll like add like a pop culture term to like certain political parties. And I feel like that's probably the best equivalent, especially since she is a girl, that people are naturally going to add, like if it's a Brat Girl Summer,
then it's weird to call. I guess we're all under the Brat Girl Summer, right?
Yeah, we're all under Brat Girl Summer, but it's weird to be like, Donald Trump's in his like Brat Girl Summer era. He is. They all are, but it just is interesting. So I think people are naturally going to add that to Kamala rather.
Interesting.
Okay, so right now we're filming this on Friday, August 2nd, and I want to say that because I don't know when we're actually going to release this, and we're talking about just the Olympic Games stuff and everything up until this point. So you were talking yesterday about like you knew all the scheduling for the gymnastics and all of the sports like the back of your hand, and you started repeating names of who was competing and in what order. I was scared, but you know, we stuck there. Okay, but one of the things that we were talking about was the fashion from the Olympics, specifically the stuff with the gymnastics team. So let's actually start with gymnastics because you talked about all the Leos that you knew.
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Let's start with the Leos. What were thoughts?
So the one on the top left, the white one, it is, I have to look up.
Wait, the middle left?
No, the top left one, the white, that one is actually a tribute to the 1990 or 1979 or 1976 when the first time that the American women won the first all-around team gold medal. They wore a suit similar to that one, so that was a tribute to what they're called the Magnificent Seven. So it's a tribute to them, which I think is like so beautiful, but also like gorgeously attired.
I also just think it's really nice that it has like, it's the stars and stripes, it's a flag.
That one was one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's like just so beautiful, and I think the creators also said it was like wrapping the American flag around yourself as the champion. They like wanted it to be like kind of like the off the shoulder, like wrapping the flag around you.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna skip 2 over because Simone did look beautiful. The second one was Simone's, right?
Yes, that's beautiful. Simone's in the all around individuals.
I think it was gorgeous. The one that the one next to it though, what I thought was, or what did you were you gonna say, Grace?
Well, what did you guys think of that one? Because it's very different from the other ones, and it's dark, and it's not patriotic to me at all.
Here's the thing though. So I was showing my husband these last night while I was like trying to put all the pictures together, and he goes, "Oh, it reminds me of the Dallas Cowboys."
Yeah.
And I actually think I'm okay with that
Yeah.
as first
Don't
Texan.
get me
And then
wrong.
second of all, if
Yeah.
they're America's football team, I think that's part of national
Yeah.
identity.
Okay.
But
All right.
I would agree with that. Also, I feel like during the Olympics, the Olympic like women's national team often becomes like America's sweethearts. Like everyone's like constantly rooting for them. So I like that like attribution because the cheerleaders are often called America's sweethearts. So, but I
I
also
love DCC.
do love that leotard. I remember the name of it is the Star Spangled Shine is the official name by it.
the one that's like the
Yeah,
darker
that
one.
one.
That's
She knows
funny
the
because you didn't
names.
like
I know the names.
But
I-
Grace, you just didn't like it was dark or what?
It just is like, yeah, it's like dark and moody and like I don't know. I just loved when like one of my favorite things about the first one and the one at the bottom left is it when it was under the lights on the what do you call it, the little arena, it
Oh, they
just all of
sparkled.
they sparkled so much and they just looked so beautiful.
Okay, the
so
only
much
sparkly
more than
one
the
I
other
did not like
countries.
was the one that looked like Elsa, but maybe that's just
No, that's so fair.
That's
Yeah.
fair. I
Yeah.
think that one's definitely the middle one's definitely my least favorite. But back on the top right one with the stars, I like it because I think it's like, you know who we are. We don't have to be decked out quite yet, but we are ramping up in terms of patriotic because that was the preliminary like round that they wore that
Yeah.
suit. They don't have to be showy and flashy yet. They're just like, we know who we are. And you know who we are, and all we gotta do is wear the stars.
Okay, that's very different from what you were saying when we were on the fourth floor and we were watching Italy
Oh,
in the
yeah.
turquoise.
Well, because that's not even their colors. They're ugly. I do not like the
We
Italian.
are not dark navy black.
I like the stars. I
no,
think they're
when it's
cute.
America, it's fine, but when
Yeah,
it's Italy,
exactly.
you better not be
okay.
turquoise.
But speaking about America, let's start with the opening ceremony ones then.
So
what are
good.
the thoughts on the Ralph Lauren?
It's perfect.
It always will be good.
Okay, I feel conflicted, and it's only because the opening ceremony, I think in a lot of ways, especially this year, a lot of people went for like a clean, more professional look or something that showed their national identity. This just made, in a way it is, like it's just jeans, it's laid back with a blazer that has like the American stuff, but I just felt like it could have been better, a little bit. Like I feel like someone would wear this on a normal day.
I liked the jeans.
I loved it.
I
thought
thought
the
it
jeans
was
were perfect.
so
I was
New
like, this is so
England.
awesome.
Vibe, like
Maybe I didn't like the guys in the ties with the jeans though.
I like the ties and the jeans.
Really?
I like have no notes on this outfit. Like
Yeah.
I think it's so patriotic. It's giving such like
And then here's
Like,
like the
the
single
cut of the
person
jean
wearing
was
it.
oh yeah.
so
Oh,
modern.
It's so
Yeah,
perfect.
she looks phenomenal.
Okay, so what do
I
y'all
liked
think
it.
then about the closing ones?
Even better.
Oh wait, here it is.
I think the closing ones are the best
I
ones.
want it.
Like it's giving NASCAR. Like I love it.
Okay, but again, last night, I'm like looking through all these photos, and my husband's like, "Is there like a NASCAR thing happening with?"
Exactly. I
It's-
love it. It's so cool.
I want it.
I want it. I want the
I
jacket.
thought that
wear
like
it.
part of the like silhouette and then part of the pants actually reminded me astronaut, but I'm not sure if it's just me.
Yeah. I see
I'm
that.
not sure how I feel
and
about-
maybe it's a nod to that. I should have read more on what the inspiration of the designer was.
Okay, but
there.
here's the reason why I feel like I'm so critical of it, because I think the one that just was perfect, Mongolia slayed.
Yeah.
Like I don't know anything else you can say about.
I think the whole world agrees.
But I think I would agree with you, but that's Mongolia's like culture. Like I think when you go back to Ralph Lauren, like everyone looks good in jeans and a blazer, regardless of like the melting pot that America is. Like Ralph Lauren's so quintessentially American.
And
like,
it's
what would
particularly
we
American.
pull for that? What would we pull for that for America other than Ralph Lauren jeans and a blazer in NASCAR? You know?
yeah,
It's awesome.
No, I think it's interesting. Like it takes me to some of the Met Gala themes, like the when we had the theme that was the American lexicon, like
Yes.
all of the different directions that people took. I just am trying. You can try to translate that to what would we do if each year we tried to take a different American direction for Olympic opening and closing ceremony outfits, and the critics would come out of the woodworks each year. And I think you're gonna get people every single year, just like we have this year, people saying, oh, it's tacky, like Ralph Lauren is so dead, like this is just not who we are. But it is. It's so Americana. It's so patriotic. It's so, I mean, dare
They
I
are
say
a
old
uniquely
money.
patriotic brand.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
And
is.
it
It's-
is giving old money.
And I
with the
liked
blazers.
it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would wear that outfit.
So it's taking place in Paris. Thoughts on France and their openings?
Oh my gosh, Southwest Airline.
Yeah, I was about to say it's giving flight attendant. Also not French at all. Like if
No.
I saw that offhandedly, I would have no idea what country that is.
It's
And
a
I feel like if you're
shame.
supposed to be the fashion capital of the world,
it's a shame.
But I think that is the point. Like that's I would argue is the trend right now. Like that kind of silhouette, very like not, I hate to say office siren, but very like corporate America kind of core. And so
Yeah.
it is ironic in the sense that it is the fashion capital and it's playing off the biggest trend right now. But
Which is office core.
I would say.
Do you think office core is back? Because do you remember like millennials had their office core moment of where you would go
Yeah.
out to the club and they
Yeah.
made like the pencil skirts and
Totally.
blazers.
I've worn my like my full like office outfits to like
We were-
restaurants and dinners.
Yes, we were just talking about low-waisted trousers.
Yes,
like
yes.
like a few days ago. Yeah. So
I have mixed feelings on the low waisted. Okay, but the country another country I think that did a great job was Haiti.
yeah.
It's beautiful. I love that.
And okay, I guess you know how you were talking about office core now saying professionalism. It still has that kind of silhouette.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like the cultural identity component of
Yeah.
it with the pattern and like around the waist.
Sophisticated.
yeah, it's very high elevated, very beautiful.
But then us, like you also get like the counterpart for the guys where it's still laid back because it's unbuttoned.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this was the height of this one in Mongolia are like the height of
yes,
fashion
for sure.
And I just I appreciate that so much because Canada, who has Lululemon, and Lululemon sponsored all of their uniforms for the entire Olympics, also did their opening and closing, but it was so casual. It was so like sporty, and it's just like, where's the elevation? Like, this is your moment to shine.
I will say the
Their sporty
Canadian
stuff look good,
suits
though.
for swimming. Have you seen the outfits they wear on the swimming podium?
No, I need to
the
see.
Canadian Lululemon outfits that they wear on the podium. Like I think they put Nike's ones for swimming to shame.
Okay.
Like they are perfect. I
I
love
need
them.
to see.
They're really pretty.
Okay, so but there's also been some like rule changes and stuff this year with the outfits. What were you talking about with that, Ella Grace?
So I know this year was the first year we've had saying volleyball is allowed to, they can wear leggings or they can wear a shirt underneath their tops. So it's been not controversial, but it's definitely a new rule change.
Has
that's-
anyone taken them up
for
on
beach
it?
volleyball?
Yes, a lot of people actually have, but I think it's for beach volleyball for women. Yeah, they're allowed to either wear leggings, but it has to be like a uniform issued, obviously. But I think I've seen a lot of people take them up on that. I just think it comes down to personal preference and what you've been like used to playing in. So it's been interesting to see how that plays out for certain countries, but so far the U.S. has not done that for their uniforms.
Yeah. So one of the other big things though happening with the Olympics is the boxing controversy happening. So do you also want to walk us through some of what that is?
So basically, I don't know exactly like the event, but basically the woman who was competing against her, I can't recall her name, was like, that was the hardest I've ever been hit in a boxing competition.
Well, okay, to give some background though, basically there's would you remember the two countries?
It was Italy and Algeria.
Algeria.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this individual
you.
from Algeria had not passed like gender testing and other events in the past and was like said to have XY chromosomes, is now competing in a women's event in the like women's position for this. And opponents that this person's faced in the past had like said things like, this is the hardest I've ever been hit. Like this is completely unfair. And now the person who in Italy, right? Or the Italian,
Italian
who went
woman.
up against this individual was out of there in just 45 seconds, basically.
Yeah, she went into the ring, and my understanding is that the first like hit or two that she took from the Algerian opponent not hit her so badly that her face gear or like her whatever she had on was completely out of whack. So she went over to her coach, was trying to like get reoriented, and that was like 30 seconds in, and she went back into the ring to continue the fight and got hit again and was bleeding. Her nose is probably broken, and she just like she gave in. She was like, I'm done with this. And then she was crying in the ring, and supposedly she shouted like, this is unjust. And then the opponent was crowned victor. The Algerian person was crowned victor. And then I saw in a video like they went over and like tried to pat the Italian woman on the back, and she was just like wanted nothing to do with it. It's really it's sad. Like I just yeah.
But imagine training for so long to just have that moment where you're like, I have no chance, and it's nothing I could have done better to be able to have any
Yeah.
sort of chance at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And supposedly, she was asked, the Italian woman was asked after the event, like how she felt about transgender athletes competing in women's sports, and she didn't comment really on it. She's said something along the lines of like, it's not really my place to comment on this, and she held back, which I don't know how to feel about that. After that, it definitely shows grace for sure. In a time where she clearly is in physical pain. She's bleeding, no less, while being questioned from her nose. It looks broken. But her coach then commented and really showed their anger at the situation and was saying how like people all over Italy had been calling the team saying like, this is dangerous. Like, we don't think you should be doing this. There's absolutely no reason why you need to be fighting a man. So, yeah.
And in the past, like in MMA sports, whenever like women have contended with people who are like transgender, they have like there was an incident of an actual broken skull. Ugh. So you're like the danger for those kinds of sports especially is just far beyond even what's happening with swimming. Mm-hmm. But then the other thing that's really crazy is so this happens, and at the same time, is it today or Monday when Title IX goes into effect for
today? Supposedly. Yeah. Yes. And I went upstairs to the Center of American Future and I asked our lawyers. I did get some clarity. There are 24 or 26 states. I can't remember which is which, but there are half of the states will have Title IX go into effect today, which will have new language saying that you can, what is it? You cannot be discriminated against for how you identify as your gender. And
so then, like, what would the implications of that be?
The implications of that would be essentially you can play in either sport that you want to be in. If you claim that you are whatever gender you are, if you are a boy and you claim you are a girl, you can now go in the girls' locker room. It is that simple.
And from what I understand, that extends to like just bathrooms in schools in general too.
Yeah, absolutely. The danger ramifications are insane to think about. It is devastating to consider what could happen to young girls, and I don't even want to go there, but. There are a number of other states, either 26 or 24, the number leaves me now, that have filed for preliminary relief. They have gotten an injunction. They have sued the federal government and said, this is absolutely not okay. We don't support this. And they have gotten the relief. So that law will not go into effect today until further notice on what the status of that will be. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like this issue is like going to go away. And what my parents and I like in talking about the Olympics and specifically this issue are realizing that this issue is probably not going to go away anytime soon. I especially in my lifetime and ours, we were talking about like if this is going to continue to be an issue, we were like, why don't there be like a separate event? Like if you were a transgender athlete from male to female, you should compete in your own category of like-minded athletes who are in the same sphere as you. If that makes sense, like not a separation completely, but they need to have their own, if they want to do that, then it's not fair to those truly female athletes. And in my opinion, I would be like, why can't they compete in their own section, if that makes sense?
That gets, I think, really weird whenever you have national governments funding certain things, because then it also affirms those sorts of things that if you're a Christian person, you would say doesn't even exist. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. I think that, like, for now, that might be a good solution just to say, like, hey, this is protecting the integrity of our events. And if, like, another independent entity wants to create that, that's totally fine. But that's just not what we do at our events. But it is, that would be the only complication with something like that.
Yeah.
Is that kind of recognition.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a crazy one.
Okay, but speaking about the, I guess, controversy stuff coming up with women and traditional gender roles and stuff like that, it's time to talk about Ballerina Farm. So there was an article from the Times, and I'm just going to read the title of it before we dive in, and the little tagline in it. So it says, "Meet the queen of the trad wives and her 8 children. Hannah Neelman. So Hannah Neelman, known to her 9 million followers as Ballerina Farm, milks cows, gives birth without pain relief, breastfeeds at beauty pageants. Is this an empowering model of womanhood or a hammer blow for feminism?" What do you say about that, Grace?
You can already tell from the title that the author, the journalist in this article, is questioning the integrity of Hannah Nealman's choice of lifestyle here.
Well, let's start out with who is Hannah Nealman? Like,
Right.
who's Ballerina Farm? What
Right,
what
okay.
is Ballerina Farm?
So Ballerina Farm is the name of an actual farm, a 328-acre farm in, I believe, northern Utah, where Hannah Nealman, who is wife to Daniel and mother of 8 children, is a mother, and she's on this farm. She takes care of the family, whatever. But she's also a content creator. She's on TikTok and now Instagram. She has over 9 million followers. And her handle is also Ballerina Farm. So she's known to the world as Ballerina Farm. She is known for her content kind of showing this lifestyle, being very homestead. She milks cows. She always has a baby strapped to her chest. She's always proving or baking a sourdough loaf in the aga. She is making scratch home meals with ingredients from the garden. She's just everything traditional and old-fashioned, and nothing that the feminist girl boss era of the last 15 years has been preaching. And so, yeah.
So that's who she is, but then what happened to her? So there's like a journalist who comes to visit. What happens?
Yes. So this journalist from the UK, a writer for The Times, comes to her house, and Hannah Nealman and her family think that it's going to be this lovely interview, and it turned out to be a lovely interview. And ends up writing a piece on her family that turns out to be a complete hit piece on her family, and paints Daniel, her husband, out to be an oppressor and her to be oppressed, saying that she is just never got to live out her dreams of being a ballerina. She was married to him, and he kind of ripped her away from Juilliard, and they moved out to Utah to be on this farm, and then kind of forced her to have these 8 children, and she never really gets a break. She has a baby every 9 months, and so it's just they use language like she couldn't get an answer out of Hannah Nealman, and she's constantly interrupted either by children or the husband, and it was an absolute disaster. But what happened is the internet read this article and created an absolute firestorm, and critics from the left came out and just are now calling on Hannah to divorce Daniel, leave them, you don't deserve this, you're in an abusive relationship, we see you, you should escape. And it's just been absolutely wild. And what no one has really come out to say is, are you sure? You sure she doesn't like her life? Are you sure she didn't choose this? So,
and also, even in the interview, Daniel says or the interviewer asks, do you think that you're is he the head of the household? And he says, no, we're co-CEOs.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because they are they actually have a whole business. They sell meat, I think honey and other stuff like that. They're ranching CEOs.
And
she does this part of social media stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important also, when I was reading the article, because I read it before Grace, and when I saw her reading, I was like, oh my God, because when I was reading it, and I think every woman, when they read the article, your first initial thing is to have your heart be broken. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then you finish it, and when I was reading, there was a couple different sentences, I can't remember them now, where I was like, I feel like the truth is being stretched, and I'm a little hesitant of this. And I remember when you were reading the article, I was like, if this is true, this is heartbreaking. If this is stretched, then this is a lack of integrity on the journalist's part to push an agenda. And I think that's so important, because when you're reading the article, if you are more left-leaning and believing, it's so easy to ignore maybe is this integrity aspect and just focus on the sadness that is inherently written in that article, jump on that train and not inherently trust the journalist. But I think for me and Grace, and for others who maybe are more pro Tradwife than I think a lot of people are, you are a little more hesitant towards the journalist's intentions, and really being are you sure? Are you sure? Because I would love, honestly, I don't know about Grace, but I would love to be able to hear the actual recording of that conversation and see what was left out.
So speaking about the recording, it came out.
Oh.
Yeah. So what happened with the recording then? What do we know now?
Well, I mean, it's available. I've only heard snippets, but yeah, it's it's absolutely clear. I mean, okay, I can't say absolutely, but it's clear that she just took what Hannah said. And you know, when someone says something and there's two ways you can take it, and you can take it the dark way or you can take it the just objective way. She took it the dark way, and at every chance she could. And that's why Hannah said in her final, you know, a week and a half after this all happened and blew up, she finally puts out this sort of like statement, if you will, of response. She said, it's clear from the article that this journal had an intention prior to the interview and prior to writing the article, that she wanted this to be like a hit piece.
Right. And even in the language in the article and how she discusses it, she made it keep seeming like Daniel is interrupting them like in an unwanted way, versus what it seems to be is like, oh, it seemed like the family thought, oh, she's coming to come see the family in Ballerina Farm, which is the name of the whole farm. But she was upset that Daniel was like participating in the conversation at all.
Right.
And when because I'm married now, and whenever we're like, people are asking us questions about stuff, we're bouncing off of each other. You cut each other off once in a while, but it's not to be rude. You just kind of operate differently whenever you've been together for that long.
It's a dynamic conversation. I think something we said the other day when we were talking about it is, I was like, when you're married, dare you consult your husband when you're asked a question? Like, that just, no, you're a team. Like, that's, I mean, I hope like that's what you do. I'm not married, but like it just seems outrageous that we're living in an age now where consulting your husband before answering a question about the two of you is seen as an indicator of oppression.
Also, am I incorrect in saying that they're Mormon, right?
Yeah.
So I also think that there's an aspect of religion in this. They have a different view operating of marriage based on the Mormon belief that this journalist probably does not have. And I think that aspect
100%.
plays so big into this, because maybe Mormonism, I don't know a lot about it, but they probably play into the marriage aspect of like, you lean on your husband more, you're a team, you're one, rather than I think more non-secular marriages really are. So I think that's something that the journalist overlooks and really can like make almost oppressive.
It is interesting. So after the like Hannah comes out and like has her own social media video saying this is not what actually happened and this is not what we meant to say. So the journalist ends up releasing a second article, and so here's a quote from that. She says, "But it was also a life of contradictions. Children not allowed screens, but who are reality TV characters online for millions, a stay-at-home mother who has made a career out of being so, an analog old-fashioned farm only working because it is underwritten by social media cash. A choice, modern in her ability to have one, to do something so very traditional." And I think it's really interesting that this journalist is seeing those two things as opposing, versus if you're coming from a more conservative standpoint or like a traditional, or I guess even just a Christian standpoint, I don't think you see those things as necessarily contradictory. And also, like, I think that there's almost been this overriding of history of saying that anything pre-industrial era, or like just forgetting the pre-industrial era, where there was like such a thing as the economy of the family, and whole families, multi-generational, sometimes were working together to survive or produce whatever commodity it was on their like small farms, in addition to like what they just needed to sustain themselves. So it really is interesting that feminism completely ignores the history of what was actually happening during those eras and how families operated for so long. So when someone does something like this, it almost feels I guess it feels like it's an attack on you, because you think that there's only one or the other that's possible.
Exactly. Yeah, when modern day, if feminism is about why can't feminism is about freedom and it's about empowering, then it should be about choice. And so much of their rhetoric is power, right to choose whatever. Then why can't you choose to have that lifestyle and reap the rewards of it?
It's also funny though that I guess their idea of that you can't be a trad wife but also have a source of income, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me, where she's saying that that's a contradiction, versus like, even if you're a trad wife or whatever who's not on social media or making money that way, that doesn't mean you're not equally contributing to the economy of the family.
Do you want them to be oppressed? Like, do you want them to be dependent? Do you want them to not have an empowering source of income.
Which is funny because the big criticism against Childwife is you lose your only source of income if your marriage becomes like an issue, you are still reliant on your husband and cannot leave. But then they criticize Childwives for having a source of income so that they don't end up in the situation that they claim that Childwives end up in. So it's like kind of a
But also,
cycle.
God forbid you like trust your husband and your family and you contribute to it in the way that you feel like you want to.
Also, God forbid you post videos on the internet and get money from it. Like it seems like that's like such
And
a
do
big
it in a
thing.
cute
Like,
dress.
she's doing it from home. She's still at home, and she's baking to give stuff to her family, posting it online, and everyone's liking it. Like I had 2 of my friends texted me because they went home from the summer. I'm from college, and so people went home from the summer, and some of my friends have been like sending me videos, and they're like, oh, like making sourdough bread, like bought a sourdough bread spreader, and we've been watching. They're like, oh yeah, I did it because of Ballerina Farm. Like I feel like
girls are going to
girls are going back to learn how to bake.
Era.
Yeah, literally, it's sourdough. It's so good.
And she's very open about how, like, the times when she makes the super elaborate meals, like, those take hours, and she doesn't do that all the time. Like, normally they're eating toast and eggs and soup, and like she's very open about how.
I don't think she's being unrealistic in the same way a lot of other trad wives online are being a little bit unrealistic.
Right.
Okay, but this also kind of brings up to me this idea of how do we support traditional family then? Like as ladies, as also a like policy institution, what are some of the things that are coming out of Texas to help support family? Grace, I think, since she's writing an article on this, she's been looking into it a lot.
Well, we have a few of I can speak on our legislative victories from last session that we had here at TPPF. But I know in particular this year, one of our legislative action agenda items is to promote family formation. That's a huge goal of ours, and specifically what we want to do is try to implement just the importance of educating the importance of family and how much that really is actually good for society and good for the economy and good for you and me in the school system, because we haven't been doing a very good job of that the past decade. So that's something we're working on. I think CHF, the Center for Health and Families, is my understanding. I don't work for them. I am in donor relations. But my understanding is they're working with Dr. Brad Wilcox to formulate some really, really neat research. So that's something that I am touching on in a little op-ed that I am hopefully gonna get out here eventually.
But in the meantime, Texas has already taken steps to try to like help improve family formation, right?
Yeah, exactly. So some of those things that we've done, we have banned gender modification for minors. So we've tried to protect just the denigration of children and family that the left has tried to penetrate over the past few years. We have really taken just a whole view of the foster care system and tried to reform in smart ways, small ways, but smart ways that have just seen enormous change. The number of children in the system has halved in the past 2 years, and we have not seen the numbers of child maltreatment go up. They have gone down. The number of child fatalities have gone down, despite the number of children in the system being halved in the past 2 to 3 years. And so those are because of smart changes that think tanks like the Texas Public Policy Foundation are advocating for at the Texas legislature. And that includes expanding community-based care, eliminating hidden foster care, which is something where these safety plans are put in place too quickly when a child is a case is opened against a child because of a claim of abuse or neglect, and a child is essentially like taken away really quickly. And so we've worked on getting that rid of, and you can no longer report anonymously abuse, things like that. So they're doing a lot of good work, and they're going to continue to do that. And I'm really excited to see what CHF does this upcoming session.
Mm-hmm. So I also am reminded with the Ballerina Farm angle of everything, this idea from how society views women and what women ought to be and how they ought to act. And this kind of ties it back to the Olympic stuff, how Ilana.
Ilona. No, it is
Alona.
Ilona.
Okay, I did get it
I was
right.
like, wait a minute.
How Alona, oh my goodness, Grace, who is this person?
Alona Mar.
Yeah,
Alona Mar,
Alona
yes.
Mar,
Yeah, okay.
the rugby player, the awesome social
No.
media rugby player. She's been getting attacked online because of her body, and I'm upset about that.
Which is just insane.
really?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
on Twitter.
That's crazy.
She, first of all, if you've seen her play, I would get bulldozed and like stomped on by her, and
Good.
I would be like, yeah, okay.
So it makes her
and
good.
they made such historic. The rugby team is the first time that American rugby team, a women's rugby team, has medaled in the Olympics ever. Was this year, and it was just huge, momentous occasion. And I think her TikTok social media presence definitely made that medaling so important. I've been following her because she's hilarious. I
She's so
recommend
funny.
following her. She's so funny. But somebody commented on her TikTok like, you look like you are overweight on BMI. And she responded to that comment and was like, yeah, I am. And I've been like that since middle school, and I've been made fun of in middle school. And I got notes from my school doctors telling like my primary physician that I needed to lose weight. And she went into this amazing talk about how much she struggled with her, because she's like almost 6 foot and and she said she has like 170 pounds of lean like muscle mass.
Wow.
So this girl's a tank. She's awesome. And
But she doesn't look fat. She's
No,
just muscular,
she's
and she
just
just
a-
has like bigger shoulders.
she's
Yeah.
just built to play rugby, which is just such a physical,
an
insane
Olympian.
sport. And then she ended the video and was like, yeah, you're right. I do have that. I am considered overweight, but I'm going to the Olympics and you're not. Like, I have a medal and you're not. And it just was so her, and I think this once again plays into what we've been talking about with women's roles. I think the women's rugby team, I think, is such a testament because that's such a physical sport. You are literally tackling everyone left and right. You are running it's a crazy sport to watch.
and way less padding than football players
Oh
have.
my God, they have no padding. They have no padding. They're just on there like just going crazy.
Pummeling each other.
And they're wearing, the girls on the team, they have they're wearing lipstick and they have cute little American bows in their hair. And she's been such an advocate of like, you can play these tough physical sports, but you don't give up your femininity to do that. You don't have to. I can do both.
that
And
gives
it
me
doesn't,
chills.
I know it gives me chills too. She's so amazing and wonderful. And like the girls, the rugby team posted pictures of like going to Versailles and these gorgeous little like dresses on, and they were so happy and they had their little medals. I was like, oh, I love you guys, but I'm terrified of them. They're so scary.
It is funny how they come up against what feminism seemed to be like. I guess earlier feminism, especially in the 90s, was very much, you saw this in the styles where they were going to have much blockier shoulder pads. You saw them in the 20s too with these like boyish looks. And I think these girls are doing a really good job of showing what you can do as a woman, so in this case rugby, and really work hard at something, show self-discipline, do something that's physically taxing, but then also at the end of the day you're just a girl.
Yeah,
And they wear like cute little dresses, like you said, wear their lipstick. It's amazing.
She had a great quote that I wrote down. She said, I feel like I can be a beast and compete in this very physical, aggressive sport while also keeping my femininity while I do it. And I think, and then the irony of being attacked for being fat, which she's not, online is just such a twisted view that like she is a woman and she's a very amazing woman, and then they're like, oh, you're just muscular, like you don't look like a woman, so like we're just gonna call you like fat and ugly. And I'm like, are you crazy? And are you dumb?
For the criticism to have come from her BMI is just like
Wild.
ridiculous. BMI has been like critiqued and outdated for so long simply because it does not discriminate between fat and muscle. So it's just like, are you dumb? Like,
Are you dumb? Are you stupid? Like, genuinely.
And as she said, I'm literally an Olympian.
yeah, I'm a bronze medalist Olympian. Talk to me when you have Olympic medals, and then we can talk.
And it was actually
Oh
kind of
my
inspiring
gosh.
seeing some other women come to her defense, saying like, actually, I have a daughter who's only 8 years old, and has like a body shape that's a lot like yours, and she feels a lot more confidence, and she's been able to see her content and that like comfortable in her own skin.
I
which is
just
so
don't
cute.
think that I just don't think it's a coincidence in this age where we struggle to define a woman that women are being attacked on such large scales, like Ballerina Farms, like, oh God, I can't say her name, Ilona being attacked for. And then the comments under her, like someone retweeted her, and I was looking through the comments last night, and somebody had tweeted like, oh, but like the ideal is hourglass, and like it always will be. And it's like, no, she's the ideal. She's awesome. She is the ideal.
Yeah.
Well, also, I'm sorry, you don't speak for all men. She's gonna like find someone wonder in the future. Like right now, she's at the Olympic Villa as she keeps
Yeah,
putting
I know.
it, trying to find love.
She's so funny.
The
Yeah.
new hottie has entered the villa.
Yeah. She's the bombshell that's into the villa.
She really has. Like bombshell is definitely a way
Yes.
to put it when you're going through the field like she does.
I know. She's tough.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of tea, like we said, from Ballerina Farm to the Olympics, and there's going to be so much more coming soon. So thank you, both of you guys, for joining us here on the show today.
Yeah, it's been so fun.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.